Hello everyone, welcome to today's training session. If you are here, it is because you want to succeed or you want to be involved and succeed in export business from Nigeria or from any other African country. But as you know, if you have been following this training, we are going to be using Nigeria as our case study, and it applies to people in every country, because exportation has to do with the same procedure in almost every country and the same regulation. And I welcome you to today's training, and I assure you that if you follow these trainings, in fact, you are going not only to learn, but you are going to become another person. And in today's training session, I will be walking you through something that we may not have thought about it, but we are going to talk about trading. I beg your pardon. We are going to talk about trading and hustling. And why are we doing this? We are doing this because an export activity, an export business is a trading business. And because an export business is a trading business, it is good for you, before you venture into export business, to understand what trading is all about. So we are going to be talking about trading and hustling, and at the same time we are also going to look about a business or a commercial activity, so that you can understand. Remember, the purpose of this training is such that people should become what they want to be, not just about being knowledgeable. And that is why I advise trainees to always follow our trainings right to the end, especially as we do give assignments at the end of our training. And as we are talking about hustling and trading today, let's start by understanding what is a commercial activity. A commercial activity is any activity carried out to generate profit. Yes, a commercial activity is any activity carried out to generate profit. And this activity, in most cases, always has to do with buying and selling. And in our own case, we're talking about export business. In fact, an export business is a business of buying and selling. You're buying from your country, be it Nigeria or any other African country, and you are selling to other international market. It can be China, it can be India, it can be America, etc. So that is what a commercial activity is all about. And a commercial activity permits you to make profit. And I must say here that the profit must not only be financial. Sometimes the profit can be material, and sometimes the profit can be some other thing. Because if you are in a commercial activity, you realize that there are certain times that you may sell not to gain, but you gain in the future. So when I talk about an activity carried out to generate profit, I'm not just saying that at every given time you're going to generate profit. And because you're not generating profit, it means you're not carrying out a commercial activity. No, there are commercial activities that you can carry out today and you make profits next year or in some months to come. So you must understand. Now, let us enter into the seriousness of our training today. Let's talk about trading and hustling. We should understand the difference, because for you to become successful in export business, you need to understand certain things as far as business is all about. And the reason why you are in this training is because you don't just want to work as per guesswork. You want to understand every aspect of the business before you venture in. Now, we'll start first of all with something which is very common: hustling. You know, it is very simple. It is very common to hear people say, I am hustling. You say, what do you do for a living? You say, I'm hustling. Now, let's understand exactly what hustling is all about. Now, hustling is any activity that you carry out of improvisation. Yes, that's the first thing you must understand. Hustling is not an organized activity. It's an activity out of improvisation. For example, you're traveling. You did not program yourself to carry out a commercial activity, but an opportunity comes and then you get involved. You carry out because you see some little profit in it. That makes you a hustler. And also, a hustling activity is an activity, is a chasing of opportunities without structure. Just like I said, you're traveling and you reach a town and you see an opportunity, you dive on it. You were not planning for that. You had no structure. So when you are chasing activities, when you are chasing opportunities, I beg your pardon, without structure, we can say you are hustling. And hustling is usually fast, reactive, and often short-term. Yes, fast, reactive, and often short-term. Because it is not something that is structured. Hustling mostly go as per opportunities. And sometimes these opportunities are not perceived opportunities. Maybe you're working in your company and they ask for something, your boss asks you for something, and you think that if you can buy that thing and supply to your company, you can make some little money. That's hustling. You are not organized. And it can be fast and reactive. And it rarely scales because it depends on personal effort. You see, hustling activity rarely scales, though some scale, because there are a lot of people who have started their businesses from hustling. They started hustling and then at some point they had to scale their businesses. But what you must understand here is that a hustling activity, which of course is an activity, can be an activity for profit also, is an activity that is improvised. You are chasing opportunities without structure. It can be fast and reactive, that is, can give you some instant cash. It can give, and it rarely scales. And the fact that it rarely scales makes it for you just a spontaneous activity which you do out of spontaneity. If the opportunity presents itself today, okay, you are doing that. If it doesn't, okay, you look at other things. That's why you see that there are some people, today they are doing this activity, tomorrow they are doing that activity. That is a fall on opportunity. When you are doing that kind of activity, we can say you are hustling, and that is not trading. But you must understand that export business is a trading business. And because it's a trading business, you need to understand what trading business is all about. Now that we have talked about hustling, let us talk about trading. What is trading? A trading is a structured, intentional, and repeatable activity. A trading is a structured. Now you see the difference. Structured. Get this in your head. Your export business has to be structured, intentional. I know if you're watching this video, it is because you are intentional, because you want to know. That is intentionality. Intentionality starts with knowledge. Remember, the Bible says, my people are perishing because of lack of knowledge. And they say knowledge is power. So I know you are intentional. And repeatable activity. That is what the trading is all about. For example, as an export business person, in the course of this training, you're going to understand how to structure your business so that you don't just do. An opportunity comes, you fall in, and then you begin to feel that you're doing export business. No, your business must be structured. it has to be intentional. Everything you do has to be intentional. And most importantly, it has to be repeatable. You don't do because you want to do. You do because your business demands. And you know, when we talk about structure in this case, we mean you being in your business. Because at the moment you accept to do export business and you structure your business, you become part of your business, and your business is not part of you, which means you don't do business out of emotions. You don't do business out of spontaneity. You do business because it is intentional and repeatable. Get this, repeatable. You repeat actions, whether you like it or not, whether you don't like those actions or not, you repeat them. That is what trading is all about. You see now the difference between trading and hustling. Hustling is not structured. Hustling is not intentional. Hustling mostly go on opportunities and sometimes instinctions. But trading is different. And trading, like I said, when I was talking about a business activity, a commercial activity, it involves buying and selling of goods with clear systems, contracts, pricing, logistics, and customer relationship. This is another aspect which you must understand. Because when we talk about buying and selling of goods and sometimes services, yes, there are people who are trading services. People who have structured rendering services, they are not the ones rendering those services. But remember, your trading business has to be structured, and it involves buying and selling of goods. Like in your case, as an export business person, you are going to be buying cashew nuts, coffee, cocoa from Africa, and you are going to be selling abroad. You're going to be selling internationally, but it has to be with a clear system, because you're going to be handling contracts and your pricing must be understood, your logistics and customer relationship. In the case of hustling, you don't need anything that has to do with customer relationship. That is why you see that there are even some people who are traders, but who are functioning like hustlers. They have no system that has to do with customer relationship. No, in trading, and especially in export business, customer relationship is very important. And that is something we shall be discovering in our next trainings, in our subsequent trainings, because it is very essential for you to understand. Trading is not a one-time thing. You don't want to do business one time, like hustling. There are some people who have been in hustling who have done try and error and they make money. But instead of transforming their hustling into a trading, they continue in hustling and sometimes they crumble. But let it not be your case. So as an expert person, you must understand what trading is all about. You must also understand that trading is about building something that can grow beyond you. Your business is destined to grow beyond you. That is what you must understand. And that is why this training is very important, so that it can create a mindset shift. You owning your business doesn't mean you're bigger than your business. Your business is bigger than you. That is why we talk about structured. When we talk about structured, it means there is a system put in place in which you, as a business owner, you must succumb to that business. That is what makes a trading business. So your export business is going to be well structured, is going to be intentional, it's going to be repeatable, and it is going to be bigger. In fact, something that is going to grow bigger than you. That is what your business is all about. And that is what you must understand as you embarked on this journey of greatness, this journey that you're going to do greater things, which is very important. Now that you've understood the comparison between trading versus hustling, let us move now to something very, very important. And that thing is, why trading, I beg your pardon, is important to hustling? Yes. Why am I not advising you to hustle your way in your export business? That is what I mean here. Why is trading important to you? Because you may hear, I'm talking about trading as a structured, intentional, repeatable. And you just say, why can't I just do my one export business and I have my cool cash and keep quiet? Yes, I know you're asking that question. But the truth is that you are not in that journey. You are not in a hustling journey. You are in the trading journey. And because you are in the trading journey, it is time for you to understand why it is important, why trading is far more important for you than hustling. As you are following this training, and if you do have a comment, please do leave it at the comment section, and I assure you that I'm personally going to handle your questions or your comments. And we are talking about trading and hustling. Why is it important for you to be a trader instead of a hustler, especially for someone who is venturing into export business? Trading is better for those who are venturing into export business, because export business has to do with regulations and formalities. And when we talk about regulations and formalities, we are talking about putting a structure in place that can help you to meet up with regulations and regularities. Because export business, one particularity about export business is that you're moving goods from one country to another. And in our case, you are going to be moving goods from Nigeria up to Europe, America, Asia. So there are a lot of things to take into consideration. First, from Nigeria, and then secondly, in the country that you are exporting that thing. So that is why if you operate in a hustling setup, you are not going to meet up. You won't. That's a reality. Don't let someone confuse you. So it's not going to be a hit and rush kind of activity. Because remember when I was talking about hustling, I said hustling is an improvised activity, just like a hit and run. Okay? But trading is a structured, intentional, and repeatable activity. So if you don't do that, you can't handle export business, because export business has a lot of demands, and sometimes these demands vary from one country to another. If you're exporting to USA, for example, it's not the same way that like you are exporting to China, like you are exporting to Europe. So there are a lot of things you take into consideration that if you operate in a hustling setup, you are not going to meet up. And I know the purpose for you coming to this training is because you want to operate in a trading setup with structure and all that you need to carry out your activity. And I'll also say that when you are structured, it is easy for you to collaborate, because you are going to be working first, in our case, with farmers. Because when we talk about export from Africa, in most cases, we talk about exporting of raw materials, because it is rare to hear that finished goods are being exported from Africa, even though there are, because in countries like Republic of Benin, Ghana, and even Ivory Coast, there are now some companies that produce locally and export finished products. But it's not always the case in every African country. So you are going to be dealing with a lot of people, farmers, custom authorities, custom clearance, logistics people, regulation, and so on. And if you are working with these people and you're not structured, it is going to make you to fail. That is why organization is very, very important. So you make sure that you understand this and you know, so that as we are moving forward, we'll be inculcating some attitudes in you and giving you assignments that can permit you to actually adopt those attitudes. Because when we talk about organization, we talk about attitude. And that is why we're going to talk now about why organizations matters. As you're following me, I said, if you have a question, please, you can leave it at the comment section. You can comment 1,000 times, okay? Make sure that every question you have, you can comment. And then during our live sessions, you can also ask some questions that you have prepared for our live session. Now we're talking about why organization is important in your export business. The first thing is systems. Without systems, I can say you're just hustling. Yes. That's a reality. You're just hustling. You're just doing try and error and everything. System makes you to be completely organized. Because when we talk about system, we're talking about this reality of organization. Organization is very important in your business, in your export business, because export business has to do with a lot of documentations. First of all, from the country of origin. First of all, sometimes you start with business offers, you start with contracts between you and your client or partner, and you do invoices, and you sometimes some reports. There are a lot of documentations, and if you're not organized, you can't handle this. And you should understand that when I'm talking about organization, I'm talking first about you as a person, and then secondly, the entire structure that you're putting in place, because you cannot collaborate and work with other people without being organized. Export business needs organization, because at some point you can't even do certain things alone. You must work with other people, and it is that organization that is going to permit you to carry out everything that is required for you to be in business. Another thing is that when you are organized as a business person, especially in the case of export business, you gain credibility from people. Yes, because you work in anticipation, you work with order, and people want to work with those kind of people. People don't want to work with disorganization people. People don't want to work with people if they ask you something today, you don't even know what to answer, and then tomorrow you are doing some other things. Today you're doing something else, tomorrow you are doing some other things. Those are the kind of things that they don't catch attraction from international people. You must understand that you're going to be dealing with people who are in a highly experienced environment, experienced and organized environment. For example, there are some people from US who know that this is how someone that is operating a business activity that has to do with export is supposed to operate. And so all those things, if you're not organized, you're not going to meet up. Now, when we talk about why is it important for you to be organized in your export business, another very important, and which is the last thing I'm going to talk today, is scalability. Every business wants to grow. Yes, you're starting your business today because you are watching this training, you are following up this training, and you must have had a one-on-one session with me. But your vision is to be something bigger. And if you are not organized, let me be very sincere with you, you can't scale your business. Your business can't grow. That's why you realize that there are some people whom you knew them, they had a small shop 20, 30 years ago, and it's just the same small shop. They are still operating there. One of the problems why they are stagnant is because of lack of organization, lack of structure. If you put in place a structure in your business, you put in place an organization in your business, it is going to be very easy for you to scale. And you realize that you'll be scaling from one step to another. And that is how someday you become a very big conglomerate. Of course, that is my dream. That's my wish for you. And that is why you are attending this training program. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of today's topic, which we had to make you to understand what trading and hustling is all about. We're talking about a commercial activity because trading and hustling, they fall in that line. And I said a commercial activity is any activity that you carry out to generate profit. And in a commercial activity, we can talk about trading, we can talk about hustling. I said hustling is an improvised activity driven sometimes by spontaneous opportunities. And that is not what you're supposed to be. That's not your portion. Your portion is not hustling, okay? Get that clear. And I said trading is a structured, intentional, and repeatable activity. Of course, trading is also meant for profit because remember, I was talking about a commercial activity. And I have given you reasons why you're going to have a structured business, because it is very important for you to have a structured business in order to succeed in as an exporter. And I said export business is trading. Now, in our next training, we are going to look about the person, you that wants to carry out export business. What are the things that you should know and what are the attitudes that you should adopt? Because when we talk about business, there is first of all the person in the business before the business. That is why you realize that there are a lot of people who cannot do business because they have not first of all become business-minded people. And I know from the last training when we talk about business-mindedness, you are certainly already working on yourself because that training must have made you to understand certain things that you were not doing. And that, of course, made you not to have a business mind. And now we'll be talking about some attitudes that you need to adopt to succeed as a trader in export business. Until then, I will be glad again to meet you in the next video. And I keep advising people that they should always stay till this moment because this is where I give an assignment of the day. And today's assignment is very simple. Today's assignment is I want you to send me a direct message on WhatsApp for those who are contacting me or by mail on the possible trading businesses around you that you know and the possible hustling businesses around you that you know. And if you have ever been involved in a hustling activity, do let me know and what were the challenges that you faced and also what you have learned that is going to shape your life as far as today's training is concerned. Because remember, I told you and I keep telling you that this training is meant to uplift you and develop you. It's not just meant for knowledge. It's meant to make you a new person. And I'll be glad to get your reply, to get your responses. And please, I do always advise my trainees, make sure you do your assignments because your assignments are what you use on a personal basis to grow, to develop yourself and to master everything that you are being taught. Thank you and see you in our next training, which will be on the attitude of a trader in export business. Bye-bye.